The last two narratives here is, well, I guess one is the load management conversation. And I think that's become an even bigger conversation in these playoffs where we've seen three all NBA level players blow out their Achilles. I'm sure other players got hurt. Steph Curry pulled his hamstring or tore his hamstring, whatever. There seemed to be, Aaron Gordon too. There seemed to be, maybe it's anecdotal, but it just felt like there were a lot more injuries in these playoffs that came during this period where players were playing every other night at the end of a long season. So it's, what do you make of the load management affecting ratings or affecting the perception of the league? And do you think that the league is going to have to take some kind of like long, hard look at this and find a solution?
There wasn't as much load management, and I think that the league has done a good job of not making it a thing. That's one item that's not being discussed as much. It's legacy at this point, kind of grasping for straws to complain about the league. I don't think it's as much of a talking point. It's important. And I think all we can do is hypothesize what's going on with these guys. This is an injury that's supposed to happen to players that with a lot of miles on them that are in their 30s and 40s, and it's happening to 20-year-olds. And the only thing we can, I think, hypothesize is the game is played earlier, the pace of play is faster, the miles are aggregated perhaps from an early league. You have like I forget the name, JCO, you have AAU, stuff like that. Like these are aggregating miles, and that's really all I could think of. And we'll see. We'll see if this was just like an anomaly or not. But I think load management, not as big of a deal, but important to some degree.
Yeah, I think teams have gotten smarter about it by avoiding like national TV games where no one cares if you're sitting the back to back of a locally televised game against a lesser team, but if you're sitting, if it's Saturday night prime time, maybe at the end of the season, I feel like teams were doing that a little more when seating was more established, but you kind of expect that. I think the Lakers was the last weekend of the season, they sat their top like seven players and nobody cared because they're like, oh, they're locked into the 4 seed or whatever it was. So I agree with you. I think it's the criticism of load management has turned down. As far as these injuries going, I mean, the theory that makes sense to me is what you said about players playing earlier, playing a lot more. They're specializing in basketball. They're putting a ton of miles on their body at an earlier age. And then also the game is just so much faster, so much more, maybe not physical in the sense of like you're getting a forearm, like you're getting a forearm shiver when you're driving, but more of like there's more possessions. You're running up the court more. I'm sure there's data that you can track of the distance covered for most of these guys because of the increased possessions, the threes, the long rebounds, all that stuff. I'm glad that the load management conversation has been toned down because I found it very tiresome because it was like, yeah, these guys are going to do what's best for their bodies. The teams are going to, it's kind of a weird dichotomy of like the teams want to protect these players, but there's also been a lot of talk, especially with Halliburton and I think Luca when he got traded, was like teams are also pushing guys to play before they're fully healthy. Like, what do you make of that conversation?
Well, I mean, this is a tough one because the Kevin Durant and Tyrese Halliburton injury are eerily similar in that both guys had a calf strain. I think Durant was out a lot longer. He was out almost a month.
Yeah.
And he even looked the same in his return game. He was hitting all of his threes, and we're like, "Here we go, baby! Warriors coming back from 3-1, magic Disney movie." And that's not what happened. He tore his Achilles on a weird play, which is what happened to Halliburton. And it's up to the team, right? Usually, a lot of folks think the player's the one that's like, "I'm out tonight. My knee hurts." It's medical experts that decide these things. Players are like fighters. You ever see like a fighter? Fighters get upset when a fight gets stopped because of like a bad cut. It's not up to them. They would be fine with blood being all over the place nonstop, but doctors say it's not healthy for you to play with a cut like that. Same thing in this case. This is just a freak accident. It sucks.
Yeah, there's a lot of talk of like the team should have protected Halliburton, or they should have thrown in the towel for him. His corner should have made that decision. And I think any serious competitor, anybody that's going to play any sport at that level, you tell them, hey, you have a chance tonight to win a championship, and your name is immortalized. This team is immortalized. I think they could be playing on one leg and go out there and give it their best. So I don't think I think that's a silly conversation. They're like, oh, they should have protected him. He's a franchise player, all that stuff. It's like, yeah, but the whole point of this sport is to win an NBA title, and it's not like it was game one against the Knicks in the conference semifinals. I mean, this was game seven of the NBA finals. So I think that's a moot point. But yeah, it's a freak accident in both cases and just a complete tragedy. And just like KD, he came out firing, and it looked like he was gearing up for like an all-time performance, which obviously, unfortunately, did not happen.